They kids go to the schools many times with these same folks. So they got the inside on the inside. It is absolutely wrong. And then where's the president on this? Where's Joe? Where's Joe Biden? Where's the president? If you hear crickets, there's reasons for that. Put up this headline, team. Biden avoids wading into the congressional stock trading debate. Surprise, 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 and then no surprise. And if you're wondering why Representative Pelosi outright wanted to block a ban on congressional stock trading, well, we got a headline for you for that as well. Nancy Pelosi's husband brought at least 1 million in Alphabet stock days before House leadership proposed a congressional stock trading ban. That is why, and the only silver lining is that there are some members of Congress who want to take action. Efforts to pass legislation to place limits on trading by members of Congress or to ban it have stalled in recent years. On Capitol Hill on Tuesday, Senator Jeff Merkley, Democrat of Oregon, and Senator Sherrod Brown, Democrat of Ohio, announced a new bill intended to eliminate the practice that has 19 co-sponsors in the Senate. Again, Ray, so sad.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think you're really justified in pointing out that Biden has done nothing on this one. I think it's a slam dunk. It's an easy way to, have a good headlines for the Democrats, sort of thwart the idea of your party being the party of corruption, although of course they love to dabble in it too. Yeah. I mean, it's a winning message, especially considering most Americans don't have any money in the stock market. So you're really not playing to anybody's emotions by, upholding the right to invest millions and millions of dollars in the stock market as someone who has some, semblance of power and control over said stock market. It's just so silly to me, but of course they're not even thinking about a political victory or, what's gonna be best for their constituents. It's all about the Benjamins. It's all about the money that they're making for themselves, especially Nancy Pelosi and her husband, who is a very, very successful player in the stock market.
Yeah, it is that. No care and concern. And look, if we have workers out there, Ray, as we know, and they have pension funds, and those pension funds are, in the stock, but they don't get to hear about they don't get to write the rules, and then they don't get to play the rules and get warnings ahead of time about what may hurt them and hurt the stocks and sell that stuff ahead of time. It is wrong. America is wrong all day long, twice on Sundays, and we need to demand more and stop being complicit in our own damn demise. This is wrong. I'm gonna throw some papers on this. Okay? It's wrong, America. It's wrong. And we need to elect people who will support bills like the bills that Senator Brown and Merkley just introduced, and people who understand for them to have an advantage. They care about their kids. Big Mama and Big Papa care about their kids as well. God darn it. But that's our time for the day. Ray and I we will be back at another time. Ray, thank you so much for being here with us and all that you do in the activist circles. We really do appreciate you, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Do not forget, no matter how hard it gets in this thing called life, I want you always, always, always to keep the faith, baby. But more importantly, keep the fight. Until next time.
Welcome, friends. Welcome, family. What's going on, Ma? Welcome to the watch list. Glad you guys could join me on a fabulous Thursday here in Los Angeles, where the weather is beginning to warm up. So moods, maybe they'll be lifted, maybe they won't, because we still have devastating news to get to you guys. Maybe we'll sprinkle in a little bit of happy, fun stuff. Maybe, if you guys are nice, I might have good news. I might, just so you guys know. But for my punctual people out there, glad you guys joined me early enough. Please like, subscribe, but also share that damn stream. And afterwards, we got all these clips from the show we post up on our YouTube channels and everything. Facebook, go check us out. And you know what? Share those too. Glad you guys could join us. I'm also happy to be joined by Jackson White. It's a Jackson and Jackson on Thursday here. He's Rebel HQ contributor, hailing from the great state of Missouri.
Well, I'm currently in New Jersey. You see, we was joking before because Jayar, he's like suffered some type of amnesia and forgotten where he's come from. We come from the same place, but he doesn't like to remember that often. So, but it's all good. We're gonna keep the spirit alive. It's warm up here in New Jersey too, and like you said, hopefully we can get around to some good news because it's been a rough ride.
It's tough, but I will remind you, Jackson. There's a Los Angeles logo on my hat and a 213 on my hoodie. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess not, man. I guess not. I guess not.
I don't see 314.
I must be the one tripping.
You get some time to redeem yourself. Let's go ahead and get started on this because I'm very curious. I'm going to ask you directly about your thoughts on this particular story because I feel like I wanted to have a bit of a explainer, a little bit of a evening out from this because these aspects of this story are very similar to others that we've seen, but there's one big thing that's a little bit different that I think is sticking in some people's minds that they're a little bit upset about. Let's go to the normalcy of what we're seeing in the country.
We've never had anything like this happen down here. Everybody's always took care of our kids.
But that all changed Tuesday evening when she says a gunman opened fire in the neighborhood, shooting her husband and 6-year-old daughter. Hildebrand was grazed by a bullet.
It was very scary. My daughter actually got to come home late last night. She just had a bullet fragment in her cheek. Still scary. But my husband, he's still in the hospital. He's in trauma. I'm doing the best I can. I just wish they'd catch this guy.
Neighbors say it all stemmed from kids playing and a basketball rolling into the suspect's yard.
As soon as I saw him coming out shooting, I was hollering at everybody to get down and get inside.
So yet another one of these events happened this time. A basketball rolling into someone's driveway with children around, of course, other adults as well. Homeowner comes out and goes to shooting at everyone. Crazy how that works. It's not like it's America or anything. They talked about a 6-year-old girl that was also struck. Let's go ahead and go to that. Her name is Kinsley White. As you can see, she had to deal with the injuries there on her face. She was shot in the cheek while her father also remains in hospital with kidney damage after he was shot in the back. Jesus. Witnesses say that suspect came out of the house and kept shooting until he ran out of bullets. That suspect is 24 years old. His name is Robert Louis Singletary. He took off afterwards, and he's still on the loose. That's why the mother there was talking about how they hope they find this guy. It's the same similar story we've seen from before, from Kansas City to New York to where we went to Texas. Everywhere else, like I mentioned also the other day, these are the ones that we've been talking about. So you can imagine just how many of these things happen that we don't hear about, that don't become national news. So local news stations, specifically Queen City News and 6ABC interviewed the little girl, and she gave her account of what went down.
I just hope my daddy was okay. Is he okay? I love him and said he loved me too. He's okay. Why did you shoot my daddy and me? Tried to shoot a kid's dad.
So the trauma that she's going to be living with for the rest of her life based off of her father, depending on what kinds of injuries, potentially lifelong injuries come out of this, or who knows whatever else could happen. We don't know the status that he's in right now, but also just from her. Will she then think, I should pick up a gun and continue this type of thought process because I have to, make sure I don't get shot, so I have to shoot first again. These things build off of each other. And then again, of course, the rest of the community there as well. So this guy is facing 4 charges of attempted murder while he's on the run there. So if you guys, I'm sure you guys saw the blaring differences here that we're seeing. This, first of all, one of the victims, this child being only 6 years old, it's the youngest of this latest string. But that suspect, let me get his name again, Robert Louis Singletary is on the run. Little white girl, older, 20-something black guy who came out shooting indiscriminately like anyone else in this country does. So I've seen some of the comments about it, and it went to, okay, so when are we going to start filing these hate crime charges? Or when is there going to be a GoFundMe for this little girl? Because look, whenever it's a black person shooting at a white person, then suddenly no one cares. I can even maybe see some of your frustrations based off of some of this, but you know what we've seen in every one of these cases, Jackson? Someone with a gun who overreacts and thinks it's time to start shooting. For whatever reason, the one thing that continues to happen, people get to shooting until the gun is empty and people are shot, and then suddenly they might feel okay about themselves. So we can discuss any aspect of this. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
I mean, well, first and foremost, I mean, what kind of state of mind do you have to be in to just come out the house, guns blazing, because a ball rolls into your yard? Especially, I'm sure you've seen these kids playing before. It's one of the worst reasons to shoot at somebody. It's not even like you were beefing with somebody and it was between you two. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like when you really sit back and think about this, and like you pointed out, stories like this don't necessarily make the news all the time. You know, there's drive-by shootings that happen all over the country, especially violence that happens in inner city areas. That doesn't really necessarily make the news. So there's actually a lot more gun violence than we even see. But when you sit back and really examine it, you really got to think, what can even really be done about this? There's so many guns in the country that it's really completely, it's just not going to happen to where like people are going to come in and take your guns. And then the argument for a criminal can still get their hands on weapons. It's so easy to legally purchase weapons. And we see people coming out guns blazing like this. The other guy from Kansas City, his ex-wife and I believe his grandson came out and said he has a long history of being violent and domestic issues. And still, he has a house full of guns. So at the end of the day, it's like the guns are the problem. There's really no argument for it. It's the guns. It's people being able to get their hands on guns who should not have their hands on them. Bottom line.
So there's this whole talk about the law-abiding gun owner, right? So they're always the law-abiding gun owner until they shoot someone wrongfully. Then suddenly they're the criminal gun owner. So it doesn't really have to be they have a long criminal history. And by the way, even when they do, which we're going to get to Tennessee later, even if they do, we've got legislators that want to do nothing about folks who do have a criminal history or could potentially be put on a red flag type of list, or to see who it is before background checks, any of these types of things, which, by the way, again, me being the crazy person, I think we should go much further than that. Then we have that problem. I just want to address really fast the racial components here, because again, I mentioned it the other day. We had a Latino guy who shot the black girl who was the cheerleader. We had the white guy who shot Ralph Yarl, who's the black kid. We had another white guy shoot this 20-year-old Kaylin Gillis, white and white. These things don't always have this matchup of whether or not it's a racial component. In the Andrew Lester point, when he shot at Ralph Yarl, it was pretty direct and straightforward. As you point out, some family members were talking about it as well. But the reasons why people bring that up is because the motivations a lot of times behind these things, historically, in the history of our country, which we don't want to teach at all, these things have been upheld by our systems and by our law enforcement and things like that. So the frustrations coming from when a white person shoots a black 16-year-old kid because he thinks he can just do that and get away with it, because he sat his ass at home and waited a few days, got arrested and released, and sat right back at home because he's like, it'll be okay. This guy took off running. He knows he's going to be brought in. He knows he's not going to be let go, which he shouldn't, by the way. Our structures have always been where sometimes, and many times, especially in our past, these types of folks just get away with it because of the racial structure. So you can be mad about it, and I'm mad about it with you. But when you bring that up to try and have some kind of equating of this, it just doesn't add up. And you're kind of proving the point that, it always hasn't been as equal as you like to say it is now. One more part about this, because this is, again, a part about this string of things that happen in our country. There's another case in Nashville, again, Tennessee. This Walgreens employee claims self-defense after he then went out shooting this pregnant woman that workers say was caught shoplifting. His name is Matarius Boyd. He's 21 years old. These folks are young in so many of these cases. And he claims he fired his semi-automatic gun in self-defense because he said he was in fear and didn't know if the woman who he shot, her name is Ferguson, and another woman whether or not they were armed. That's what police said about it. She was pregnant. She had to have emergency C-section in the hospital because of this after her friend then took her. Now, some of the details of that story, Jackson, was that they were shoplifting. So this manager tried to stop them. She maced him and took off and ran out the front door. And he said, I wasn't sure if they were armed, so I got to shooting. Think about that statement. I wasn't sure if they were armed, so I got scared that they might shoot me as they run away and steal things and mace me, so I got to shooting. I think the reality was you were upset that you got maced, you were assaulted, things got taken out of your store, and you wanted some revenge. That's human nature. Yeah. Admit it, bro. Don't try and hide behind, I was so scared. You wanted revenge. That's what you wanted. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. He wanted revenge, and he had a gun in his hand, and he went after it. 100%. And too, like you said, I mean, these types of issues really aren't age related. You know what I'm saying? You could be 80, 70. I mean, growing up, I knew a bunch of teenagers shooting people in jail now, dead now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so there's really no age limit on it. Guns kill people if someone points it at you and pulls the trigger. But 100%, I mean, an example like that is, I mean, this dude he just got mad. I personally could never care enough for, you know what I'm saying? If I'm a manager at some store, no, just take it. I'll call the police, just run out. You know what I'm saying? But like, yeah, that's like, you're taking the milk. I'm gonna shoot you over the milk or whatever.
I can't imagine it.
The Snicker bar. Yeah, like I couldn't even, like, I'm not gonna put my freedom and my life on the line over a Reese's Pieces bag that was stolen. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully, is the baby okay?
They did say, I think she was like 8.5 months pregnant, am I right? And then so emergency C-section, apparently she's okay.
And he didn't see she was pregnant 8.5 months. He couldn't see she was pregnant. But he was scared. Come on, bro.
You know how these things work.
Yeah.
Let's jump to this next story. You did mention the situations going on with Ralph Yarl and that shooter, Andrew. What's his last name? I can't remember his name. Andrew Lester, that went to shooting. One of Andrew Lester's grandson went on CNN. He was speaking out about who his grandfather is. Let's go.
Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
I believe he holds racist tendencies and beliefs.
Why do you say
that? He's just a stock American Christian male. It's older, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things they say, and it doesn't make sense, but they're just scared.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean they're scared? Talk to me more, please.
It's just I feel like a lot of people of that generation are caught up in this 24-hour news cycle of fear and paranoia perpetuated by some other news stations, and he was fully into that, sit and watch Fox News all day, every day, blaring in his living room. And I think that stuff really kind of reinforces this negative view of minority groups and leads people to be doesn't necessarily lead people to be racist, but it reinforces and galvanizes racist people and their beliefs.
That's Clint Ludwig, the grandson of Andrew Lester, who's been arrested and charged with shooting Ralph Yarl. And he's pointing out how his propaganda watching and also his thought processes towards certain folks may have led him to do that shooting through his front door window or whatever that glass door he shot Ralph through. There's a little bit more, though, because he after he was asked about the things that Lester might be believing and that led him to this point, he had this to say.
A lot of it was the kind of QAnon level conspiracies about election denying, and then they got really weird with some Fauci dogs. I really didn't know what that meant, but I would push back on some of this stuff, and he couldn't handle being pushed back on. And at a certain point, we kind of lost touch, and I think it was more of his choice than mine. I feel like he's been pretty conservative for a long time, which is fine, and feel like in the last 5 or 6 years, it's really ramped up. He was a huge Trump supporter, and between that and then the galvanizing that people have been feeling lately with politicians and ideologues co-signing, violence and domestic violence, domestic terrorism, and even pardoning people who murder other people for differing political beliefs. I feel like all that stuff has really ramped up his beliefs and radicalized him a little bit.
So he feels he's radicalized. He has these QAnon type thoughts. He's watching tons of conservative media that is filling his brain with more of this stuff, or at least allowing him to think that this is a normal thought. And maybe you should also act on it. That's the key part about this. All these thoughts has been racist since the beginning of time. It's just how much they think they can get away with these things. Again, throughout our history, we've seen how open people are about this. But they're kind of more open about it more and more lately. We wonder why. But there's one more part about this. He's got those issues with him. But then again, what about the guns? The guns is always the thing. He also addressed that in the way that he thought about his guns. Watch.
Did your grandfather have a gun or more weapons in the house?
They were all over, yes.
What do you mean, they?
The guns were all over. He had them stashed in some spots and had a big locker full of them. But yeah, he was ready to defend his home, as he would say.
He was ready to defend his home, as he would say, Jackson. And one other part he did point out to the Kansas City Star was that after he heard about this, he said, yeah, I could see him doing that. I didn't really think he would, but once I heard, yeah, it all adds up. Some folks were saying, Jackson, that he was throwing his family member under the bus with this type of interview. Is he turning on his family?
It seems like he doesn't really have much of a connection to him. I think if he did, he wouldn't. I mean, clearly he doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I think that says a lot. It says a lot that he really doesn't care. But, you know, there's a couple of things. One, I think it's really important to focus on the power of media, social media, or anything that you get sucked into that is not the real world. You know, whether it's people watching Fox News who think the country's being taken over, we're losing the country to X, Y, and Z. Or even like, you know, if you look at like younger men who look at like dating information, like red pill, manosphere type of stuff online, and they develop all these beliefs like women are like this and women are like that. And if you are 6'5" and make $1 million a year, women aren't going to want you. Like, have y'all ever been outside before? Like, all you need to do is go outside and look around and you'll see that everything that you spew is complete nonsense. And it's a similar thing with these old people who watch Fox News. Now, unfortunately, it leads to tragedies, you know, where someone can just come to the wrong house and get shot in the head. But on the other side, it's like, you know, people who are like 85 plus years old on their way out the door who are terrified of what is the country losing? Like, y'all about to die. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that's really like it's funny and messed up, but at the same time, it's the truth. Like, what are you so afraid of losing? You're not gonna be around to see it anyway. You know what I mean? Like, but that's, again, that's the power of media. You get to living your life through the internet or through television instead of actually being out here and actually having real relationships with genuine people.
I wouldn't love to see it, but imagine going to maybe some of these folks' houses, the things that they're looking to defend.
Right.
Defending my castle. Bro, get a castle.
Right. You're behind on your mortgage.
You know
what I'm saying? Like, but no, I was just adding to the joke of what you're saying. You're behind on your mortgage, and what are you really defending? You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
A lot of times not much, because that's what has these folks so mad is the situations that they're in, and those folks are coming to get my stuff. What do you have besides a locker full of guns that you really use on folks?
A bunch of fear and hatred is what they got.
It's outrageous. Let's take this first break, see what you guys have to say about these first couple of stories. I'm curious what you guys have to say specifically about that first one. But also when we get back, though, there's a little bit more specifically about gun regulation coming out of Tennessee from one of the highest elected officials there. It's crazy, but the result of this is definitely not crazy or unexpected at all. We'll do that, but also, as I said, maybe a little bit of fun is coming. There was a battle on TV between Byron Donalds and Jamaal Bowman. Got the two black elected officials fighting. Oh, they beefing. We'll see who won that debate when we get back.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richard. We got a lot happening today. What do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I got to let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know. Maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it, though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
Watch this, you guys. Shy Coltrane over here on YouTube says, is it YouTube? Oh, TYT members. Sorry, you're a member. Appreciate you being with us. Shy Coltrane 42. I'm guessing that Lester might get off because white jurors will say, quote, he has dementia. How can anyone send a poor elderly person to prison? I see the imagining that. This case has gotten too much attention. They know that'd be a problem. Twitch, over on Twitch, Ghost Dog TV. 3 more casualties in the Republican war against America. 100%. You know, I mean, we're going to get to the processes and the approaches they have with trying to prevent some of these things, which is nothing. Mojo Quid, also on Twitch, says, everybody's so quick to shoot these days. Always the scared people with guns. People who can handle hand-to-hand fighting are confident enough to not need a firearm. I wonder what kind of world it would be if we were only allowed to carry knives and swords. Well, those would be some brutal fights. But people do
personal fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In order to keep seeing, it's easy to just keep squeezing, or in these semi-automatic guns, just squeeze and just let it happen. And that's what happened in this other case that we just talked about today. One more over on YouTube, you guys. This woman named Bessie Jackson says, hey, my son. What's up, Ma? All right, let's start with this next story, you guys. Back in Tennessee, is something being done? Let's go.
We all agree that dangerous, unstable individuals who intend to harm themselves or others should not have access to weapons. And that should be done in a way that requires due process and a high burden of proof, supports law enforcement, punishes false reporting, enhances mental health support, and preserves the Second Amendment for law-abiding citizens. Tennesseans agree with this. Legislators agree with this. Second Amendment advocates agree with this. And so throughout the last couple of weeks, I've worked with members of the General Assembly, constitutionally minded Second Amendment protecting members, to craft legislation for an improved order of protection law that'll strengthen the safety and preserve the rights of Tennesseans. To be specific, I'm proposing that we improve our state's law so that it protects more Tennesseans and reaches more individuals who are struggling and in need of mental health support.
Tennessee Governor there, Bill Lee, is talking about adding some, or is requesting that lawmakers add some red flag laws, but he never said the term because he's afraid of what they might say in response. Instead, it's order of protection laws or people that are struggling, which is perfectly fine ways of saying it. Cool. This is politics, of course. You have to soften the blow when it comes to trying to protect people from being murdered on a wide scale. So I talked about those Republican lawmakers that he's calling to do this. The reason why he's trying to avoid angering them a little bit too much is because they want nothing to do with it. So he continued on with that.
The only thing standing in our way is politics on both sides of the aisle. National politicians and pundits, even the White House, are calling our proposal something that it's not. Red flag is nothing but a toxic political label meant to draw lines in the sand so nothing gets done. This is hard. I've said that all along. But in Tennessee right now, if a husband threatens to hurt his wife, an order of protection would temporarily restrict his access to weapons to protect the spouse. If that same man threatens to shoot himself or a church or a mall, our proposal will provide that same level of protection to the broader public. So once again, I'm asking the General Assembly to take a vote on this improved order of protection proposal before they end the legislative session. We owe Tennesseans a vote.
Governor Bill Lee agrees with some of these Republicans. If we do something like call them red flag laws, those are political labels that are meant to divide and draw lines in the sand. So people saying red flag laws, they're looking to make people who are against limiting some of these gun deaths. It's trying to anger them and get them to not do it. Why would anyone who's trying to advocate to do something purposely make up a line to get the opposing side to disagree with it so nothing gets done? It doesn't make much sense, but still, let's go ahead and find a way to both sides this, which he did. It's the surprising part. But after he then did that, I was wondering, I said, man, Bill Lee came forward. He's actually asking for something, in my opinion, not enough, but asking for something so it's a start. This might have something to do with the fact that this hit close to home, that last shooting at the Covenant School. Let's watch.
The children woke up without parents, without teachers. Maria woke up this morning without one of her best friends, Cindy Peak. Cindy was supposed to come over to have dinner with Maria last night after she filled in as a substitute teacher yesterday at Covenant. Cindy and Maria and Catherine Kuntz were all teachers at the same school and have been family friends for decades.
So it hit pretty close to home. He lost a family friend, so maybe now he wants to do a little something about it. So he called on these Republican lawmakers to do something. This is their a statement they put out on Twitter from specifically the Tennessee House Republicans. They said, any red flag law is a non-starter for House Republicans. Our caucus is focused on finding solutions that prevent dangerous individuals from harming the public and preserve the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. So when the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens is absolutely unlimited, then how can you do any of this? In other words, nothing. Continuing the back end of that, sorry, I had to interject my thoughts. We always have been open to working with Governor Lee on measures that fit within that framework. If it ain't that, we don't want anything to do with it. I have a translation for you guys in this next video. This is what they're saying.
So it's a horrible, horrible situation, and we're not going to fix it.
That's the consistent message from these folks, Jackson.
Yeah, and you know what? The dumbest thing about all of this is that red flag laws are the most common sense. I mean, it just makes sense. It makes sense that if someone is threatening someone with violence, even if it's themselves, they should not be able to purchase guns or maybe should have them taken away. How is that a non-starter? If that's a non-starter, where are we going to start? But just like you said, we're not going to start anywhere. We're not going to do anything whatsoever. But the biggest issue is like gun violence in America is one of the most obvious problems that this nation has. Outside of economic issues, this is one of the most glaring issues that the entire rest of the world talks about. I'll be watching podcasts and they may be talking about, some time when they went to the hospital and they don't pay for this, they don't pay for that, they don't deal with these types of things. Was it on this show? I was on Unbossed. When there was some type of police situation with they had machetes and they were taking, like other countries have responded to these types of issues. And the most important thing isn't that they got it 100% right. It's that they try. You know what I'm saying? It's like they make moves. They actually try. And if this doesn't work perfectly, they try something else and they let one thing lead to the other. Republicans are just like, we're not going to do anything ever, period. It doesn't matter what it is. We ain't doing it. Because, again, if red flag laws are a non-starter, then we're never going to do anything. I mean, like, what are we even talking about?
Again, the layers keep coming off, the veils keep getting lifted, and then they're basically saying straight up, we're not looking to do anything. The only last step is once they say, the people who gave me money told me that we can't do anything. That's the
right,
only last.
Just come out and don't hide anything. I mean, really, look, it's because this is how I make money. So, I mean, you know, y'all gonna have to do what you do. Buy bigger guns.
Yeah, the gun lobby and all that, the reasons that I'm here.
Because red flag laws, and then because they'll say, like, you know, this is where it starts. You know, you first you do the red flag laws, and then the next thing you know, the you know, like the red shirts are marching down the street, and everybody's taking over your guns, and the government's going to come and they're going to own everything. Like, it all starts with red flag laws. I mean, that's basically the argument they make. If we make any type of move, even an inch towards that direction, next thing you know, we're going to be a totally communist country.
I got to be honest. What I think they're afraid of is if those things are implemented, it might start working, and then all of their narratives go away. Yes. That's the problem. They can't keep going off of that. Let's jump to this next story, you guys. We had a bit of a debate. Jamaal Bowman, Byron Donalds. Let's go.
Now, in terms of Donald Trump, the brother's making the debate way too easy for me. World War III? We had the first attack on the U.S. Capitol since the War of 1812. The first attack on the U.S. Capitol by U.S. citizens in U.S. history. Who facilitated and nurtured this attack? Donald J. Trump.
That's actually
on
not true.
Twitter,
That's
on all these social media platforms.
That's not true.
Come on January 6th.
Come on, January 6th. That's Jamaal Bowman of New York, if you couldn't tell by now. He's going off there on Byron Donalds. They're talking about Trump's presidency, how effective he was. I'm not sure what the general point of this whole debate is. They kind of spanned on several things. But one of the things that Byron did point out was how Trump was avoiding to get us into World War III. But that's when Bowman started to talk about that attack on our own soil. So let's watch more of this debate.
What I'm looking for is somebody who can come in day one and get America back on track. Donald Trump has done it once. He can do it again. And I would ask all Americans, you have President Trump, you have President Biden. They both done the job. The question is, who did it better?
I'm gonna let
we
you
know the
respond
answer
to
to that.
Now, in terms of Donald Trump, the brother's making the debate way too easy for me. World War III? We had the first attack on the U.S. Capitol since the War of 1812. The first attack on the U.S. Capitol by U.S. citizens in U.S. history. Who facilitated and nurtured this attack? Donald J. Trump.
Name
it's
the
gonna
statement.
Be crazy.
Jamal, name the statement.
I'm going to meet, he in his speech, I'm going to meet you down there. He tried to ride with the Secret Service. They was like, chill, President Trump, you bugging. You can't ride with us. He let his supporters come in past the metal detectors with guns during the speech on January 6th. They were carrying wooden crosses down the street. This is what he did. So he's endorsing an insurrectionist.
Not true at
He's
all.
part of a party
Not true at all.
Many of them voted to overturn the election results and push the big lie.
Jackson, you're in New York. Do New Yorkers, they still say bugging? I mean, I thought that was
yeah, they do. Mostly older ones. It's kind of gone out. I don't hear it as much, but yeah, people still definitely say that. And when I first moved here 7 years ago, they was really still saying it. Oh. Maybe it's gone out a little bit. But
it's like the Bay Area here, and they say hella all the time. I thought it was going to stop around 2003 or 4, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Sorry. There was a lot going on here. There was the debate based off of who's better, President Trump or President Biden. And, you know, those direct, I got to be honest. I mean, the depths of what you can get with this type of debate don't really work when it comes to this quick yelling format, though, which, again, they decided to yell and debate more about systemic racism here. And I think you can guess who was on which side here. Go.
To truly invest in poverty, you have to reverse the impact of the disproportionate distribution of wealth that happened post-slavery. You've had Jim Crow, black laws, KKK, mass incarceration. You've had globalization where we, with the race to the bottom, chasing low-cost labor all over the world, taking industrial jobs out of the black communities. You know what they brought back in? Cops and drugs and the numbers game. You gave us an illegal economy and cops, but never repaired the harm that you have caused, which is why mostly gun trafficking is trafficking in the black and brown communities, and black and brown people are killing each other with it. So when I talk about dealing with the issue of poverty, I'm talking about reparations.
People have started in different parts in life. We both acknowledge that.
Yes.
I will never sit here and say
Some
that.
were slave masters, some were slaves.
Of other people in America. I'm not going to make that point because we both know that is not true.
Your thoughts here on this, Jackson? Of course, we could figure that Donald's there talking about how it's not a big enough deal, but then he does acknowledge that there's been two different starting points. I'd love to know how he figures that that doesn't affect what we're dealing with today.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Republican Party is abysmally pathetic. I mean, the fact that Donald Trump is in the position that he's in and that anybody goes to bat for him is beyond ridiculous. Okay, Jamaal Bowman pointed out January 6th. But then he's also been impeached twice. He's the first president in history to be indicted. And then before he got in office, all the tax dodging that not only he did, but his father did, the tax fraud, all the people he ripped off, all the bankruptcies, all the scams, none of that matters. Somehow he's the man for the job. You can't even look past him. So again, it's like you really have to be someone who's just completely disingenuous to go up to bat for Trump and say, he's the man who can take us where we need to go. Donald Trump, was he not the president when COVID hit? You know what I'm saying? How many Republicans were whining and griping about all the shutdowns? Was he not the president when that happened? Yes, he was. But somehow that's the Democrats' fault. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, as you pointed out, like with these types of discussions, it's really almost a waste of time. Because how can you really sit across from somebody and take them seriously like Donald Trump's who we need in office right now, despite basically an entire life of being a criminal, and not a very good one. Not a very good one. So that's
just one that brags about how he's gotten away with so many different things, from taxing. And yes, he's been punished for these types of business practices. He's done discriminatory things, all that go into it. But we're supposed to forget all of that stuff. We know what he's made up of and how he operates. But, it's just a matter of protecting the party and their next steps of any kind of, I guess, support, since he's running for president again. So they can't cross him. It's weird. I think we were mentioning before how afraid so many of these folks are of just hitting him. Just a simple, he's in the most vulnerable position right now. And it's just like, I don't know. I think I'm afraid of his followers who are ready to find someone else.
His entire life is easy to pick apart and destroy. You could talk about his personal life and just make fun of it. You know what I'm saying? Literally, not even the business stuff, the political stuff, just talk about his personal life. Ron DeSantis couldn't even do that well. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's not like I feel sorry for the party, and I'm a registered independent, so I'm not like a loyal Democrat or anything like that. But again, it really is mind-blowing to watch a man like Donald Trump be this impervious to defeat, at least within the Republican Party.
That's all he needs. That's what he's going off of. We could skip by that next door. We're getting to some athletics, although we missed the wrestling athletics part. Let's take a trip to Boston. Way up there where the Boston Marathon was just run, but there was some drama that maybe you didn't hear about. Let's watch.
Yeah, well, it's not the kind of reporting I'm trying to do here. But we got all around here. And a helicopter right behind us. Why are we surrounded by police? Why are we surrounded by police? Wow. Is it like this the whole way of the course? Y'all ever run a marathon? Y'all ever run a marathon? You ever run a marathon? We just try to support. I know it's mile 21. I'd like to high five. All right. Okay. So I've missed like 5 of my friends running by, but thank you. Okay.
Members of a black running club up there in Boston were at the marathon looking to cheer on maybe some friends, family that were running in this specific tough aspect of the race. I think it's around mile 21, and this part is known as is known as Heartbreak Hill. And I don't know if you guys remember this, if you guys are longtime watchers of the show as far back as a year. Our producer, Emilio, ran in last year's Boston Marathon. And he said the reason they call this Heartbreak Hill is because it is absolutely heartbreaking. Yeah, right?
Respect. That's a lot of running, man. That's hard. Running a mile. I'm a runner. I've been an athlete my whole life. I don't care who you are. Running 27 miles is not easy. That is not easy. 26, that is not easy, man.
I think. I could be wrong.
No,
I've never run a marathon.
It's basically almost 27 miles.
Yo, don't let me correct you, bro. You know better than I do. So this group set up to cheer on their friends. As you saw, there's a bunch of police that have formed a bit of a line right in front of them with their bicycles because they're cool. But on the other side of them, there was more cops. It was a bit surrounded. And if you really look closely, you'll see that other groups weren't surrounded, maybe because they weren't playing Drake on a loudspeaker. For some reason, cheering and making noise is a problem when you're outside at a marathon. Anyways, another participant was there watching. She filmed this as well.
Because I know people love to say we exaggerate. They love to say we exaggerate out here. They love to say we exaggerate. I mean, I don't even know what the presence is all about. They love to say we, it's all in your head. You're making it up. Make this up, though. Can't make that up. I don't know why. Can't make that up. So why we out here? We cheering too loud? We supporting our friends too much? All right. That's not excessive. That's not excessive at all.
I can't wait to email and tell them about over-policing at a marathon that everyone's allowed to cheer at.
I mean, we out here giving them life.
I can't
this
wait.
is, they're on both sides of us. We surrounded out here. All right.
I was totally on the Pioneers Running Club side until I saw this next video, because this is what they were doing. Yo, I'm going to blow the whole lid off of this thing. This is the intimidating things they were doing in the middle of Boston at this marathon. Watch.
Here we go. There's my guy. Shout.
How could they? You see that sign right there? It says cheer zone. It's a problem, Jackson. It's a problem.
They brought them just in case police out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just in case the blacks start spewing out of the black people. You know what I'm saying? Just in case they start getting rowdy and loud and extra. You know what I'm saying? Well, we got to be ready. But no, actually, Boston is notoriously racist. That's pretty known about Boston. Think of Mark Wahlberg. That's where he's from. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's enough said. And I don't really have like a whole lot of issues with him. I'm just saying he's had some racial issues in his past, and a lot of it's because he's from Boston. So that's just kind of what's up with Boston. But yeah. If there's no example of something being ridiculous, this is definitely it. But that's literally all it was. There's a bunch of black people. Let's surround them just in case the blacks start spewing out.
This is let's jump to a graphic too here, because BuzzFeed News was talking about this whole thing, and it had a couple of accounts from some of the folks that were involved in being surrounded, and nothing was being said to them. I believe one of the other accounts also was like, one of the cops was like, there'll be a problem if you don't listen to me. This can be a perfectly fine event, but this was pointed out by them as well. Running While Black author Allison Mariella Desir told BuzzFeed News that the situation isn't even new. This isn't a first-time thing. She was at the same Pioneers Run Club station last year and also experienced disproportionate policing after officers were called while they were cheering runners on. I wonder if Emilio ran by this and saw any of this going on. We might have direct action. Still, though, he says yesterday was supposed to be a celebration. But running exists in the same context of this country, in this world, which is rooted in white supremacy. So we have to intentionally address the way that it shows up. So I think their point there being, you guys are upset about black folks always bringing up race, always bringing up how you're being disrespected and how you're being limited and then threatened and then police presence showing up. If you don't want us to keep talking about it, maybe stop setting up those situations. Maybe stop unleashing your law enforcement on specific small groups in one small area because of who they are and what they're doing, because you deem normal behavior and activity as threatening. So yeah, Drake is playing. Black folks going, yeah, go get him, like anybody else. If they play some Lady Gaga, is it okay? Maybe some Justin Timberlake. I don't know what kind of music they're supposed to be playing that doesn't allow this to be a problem. But Drake is playing, and oh my God, maybe they didn't play the censored version, but I bet you they were.
Drake got fake abs. Just had to throw that out there. His abs are fake. They're plastic abs.
Is this a new procedure? I don't know about this.
Yeah. It's
wow.
Yeah, he tried to flex online, and it was like very clear. Like, bro, you have abs and muscles nowhere else, and you're kind of chubby, so those definitely aren't real. But I don't know, man. But yeah, this was, I mean, that's very Boston. This was I'm not surprised at all. And I'm gonna have to link up with Emilio, get some workouts in, man. I didn't know he had the juice like that.
Don't do it. Emilio runs 7 miles before meetings, bro. Don't do it.
Oh, he gonna. So now I found someone with more juice. Now I gotta level up.
Emilio was a serious runner. Let's go to this next story, because there was a runner in this story, but he did not make it 26 or 27 miles because of pizza. That's a nice tease. Let's go.
Oh! That's a high-speed chase. Yeah. That's a high-speed chase. Yeah, you better hit my car, dude. Oh my God, Jagger! Oh my God, Jagger! There's a high-speed chase on my land! No!
Wow. Well, this pizza delivery guy in the red T-shirt there had a couple of pizzas, maybe a pasta on top there, but he did not let it go as he tripped up apparently a suspect involved in this high-speed chase that I guess because we're in LA and we've seen these a million times, I'd call that a slow-speed chase, but whatever. He did thwart the criminal there as he tripped him up. I don't know how he didn't see him coming. I just want to see it one more time. Got him. So let's watch more about how this whole story unfolded. I just want to see it one more time because I like that. Let's watch.
This morning, a Pennsylvania pizza delivery man hailed a hero for stepping up to help police stop a suspected car thief. Oh! You see in home security video a car flying down a street, police cars close behind.
That's a high-speed chase. Yeah. That's a high-speed chase.
Tyler Morrell is a delivery driver for Coco's Pizza in Delaware County. You see him in the video, pizza in hand.
Oh my God, Jagger! Oh my God, Jagger!
The driver of that stolen car crashing, making a run for it. Tyler says he did the only thing he could do since his hands were full. He stuck out his leg.
I just thought, if I can just, trip him up a little bit. Then the cops can take care of it from there.
Watch again.
And I threw my leg out and I caught him pretty good on my shin. I'm definitely nursing a little bit of a leg injury here, but it's not broken. So
it's not broken. It just hurts a little bit. What heroics from one Tyler Morrell.
No pain, no gain.
Did you guys watch him walking through that kitchen in the back? I don't know if we can run that as a B-roll again. What Tyler Morrell is not letting us know is apparently he's a former basketball player, because my man looks like he's like 6'8". Look at this.
Yeah, he's tall. Yeah, he's tall. He looked like he looked like he's taller than me.
He's crazy tall. I'm not sure how the suspect didn't see him coming, but he didn't have to stick his leg out very far from the porch because, again, my man is a giant. One more part, though, because this is the big aspect of the story, Jackson. What happened to those pizzas?
Yeah, what happened?
Let's see.
How he held on to the pizza, I got to be honest with you. I don't know how he did it, but somehow he managed to do that. So,
as for what happened to that pizza,
I can't even remember giving the pizza to the woman at the door after it was done. I can't remember when I gave them the pizza.
Tyler did make his delivery.
10 out of 10 delivery.
He says he'd do it all again.
I was happy to help, and I would do it 10 out of 10 times.
Now, there are 2 suspects in this case. They're now facing multiple charges, including fleeing and eluding, resisting arrest, as well as several traffic charges. As for Tyler, he never intended on being involved in anything like this, but the former collegiate lacrosse goalie has got some good reflexes and some height that probably helped. He's 6'8", guys.
Yeah, I knew he's taller than me. I knew he's taller than me. I was like, I'm 6'6". I was like, it's something about it. He just looked like he's taller than me. Actually, today when I was at the barbershop, I saw a guy who was a little bit taller than me. And anytime I see that, I make sure. How tall are you? I introduced myself. He was like 6'9". He was pretty big too. I was like, yo, how tall are you? He kind of looked at me like I was sizing him up. He didn't really know what was going on. But he was a cool brother.
This ain't St. Louis. You can't be asking. You can't also ask cat, hey, what kind of shoes are those? What size shoes?
Yeah, you're right. Like, what type of chain you got on underneath that shirt?
Anytime someone asks you what size of those shoes, say my size.
Right.
That's what you have to say. Don't tell them. No, but he's apparently a cross goalie there. We were all over it. I hadn't seen that last aspect of it to see his height, so I promise that was a lucky guess for me. I got it done. But no, the guy was taken into custody, and they got him. Good job, Tyler. Let's go to this last story. As I mentioned, we went through a bunch of stuff, depressing things, murder, a-holes, even a little bit of fun with tripping up suspects on high-speed chases. Now we have a little bit of good news.
Over 1,300 households, and those people are going to be getting a letter shortly that says their debt is forgiven, it's removed from their credit report, and no one can collect it on it anymore. One of the things I noticed over the years as we've helped different people both on our own and in conjunction with Sunnyside Ministry was a lot of the stories were triggered by medical debt. People that had been making it, paycheck to paycheck, had a hospitalization or something, didn't have insurance, or insurance is often very holy these days.
Oh, it's beautiful news actually coming out of a church here. The Trinity Moravian Church in North Carolina was taking many members' medical debt and burning it up because they took it in and they got rid of it. I mean, millions of dollars worth of medical debt. How does the church actually get a way to afford this? I mean, what kind of tithes and offerings are happening here? He must not be flying on a private jet with all that money. This is what's happening. It's called RIP Medical Debt. This is how it works. Let's watch this next video.
We are a charitable nonprofit institution that mission is to end medical debt. We were founded by two former debt buyers who knew the debt industry and knew that you could buy debt for pennies on the dollar, which is why $1 relieves over $100 of medical debt. And we've gotten rid of over $7 billion of debt for over 4 million people to date.
Okay, so the question is, who's eligible?
We look for people that are 400% of poverty or below, or if the debt is 5% or more of the person's income.
We're going to spend $12 million. That's our initial investment.
$12 million over 3 years that they're using to get rid of roughly $1 billion of medical debt.
Insane, those numbers. Really fast, these graphics, as this is now being done. And anyone's seen any kind of debt they've gone into further, you'll see that these like consolidation things, I mean, not necessarily consolidation, but ways to lower it. Just pay us this percentage of it. I think that's what they're working off of. Jackman told this local station that the Jubilee Project with RIP Medical Debt raised $15,000. And with that, they were able to go in and bid and buy over $3.2 million worth of medical debt in Davidson County. So when an individual fails to pay down an outstanding medical bill, you guys might know this, the medical company that is owed will often hire a debt collection agency. And then when that agency fails in its collection efforts, then that debt is sometimes sold to a third-party collection agencies for pennies on the dollar just to recoup that loss. And those third-party agencies have the legal right to either collect or forgive those debts. And if they feel like it, Jackson, they can go, whatever, we don't need this anymore. It's taking too long. You're not listening, and I'm sick of your voice, or whatever it is, reasons that they decide not to. So apparently this church took the reins in this particular aspect, and they're helping some members out. It's a beautiful story.
I had it on mute. But no, yeah, I was saying in terms of the numbers, that just goes to show how imaginary money really is, man. It's not real. I mean, it is, but no, it's not. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the people who have all the levers can just, to think about, yeah, Biden, the student loan debt's caught up and stuff now, but he really could just be, just get rid of it. You know what I'm saying? Just in terms of this. And you see stuff like this, and it's like, why are people suffering for stuff that's not even real? But this really is an encouraging story. And stuff like this is, first and foremost, what churches should be doing with the tithes that they get. But anybody who participates in something like this is help that people need. These types of things hold people back in life greatly. People's dreams, people's hopes for themselves and for their children, for their loved ones, can go unmet, can go unpaid for, unrealized because of some medical debt. You know, so again, this is really good work right here. This is the type of work that we need more of. And again, very encouraging, very hopeful, very positive.
You know what the odd thing is? These medical bills that came from whatever entities, I assume those entities aren't out of business based off of the fact that this debt got sent and then sent and then sent again and eventually excused based off of this church and their work. So if they're able to get by, however many years back in the past they did this, I don't know if those doctors or nurses or personnel that worked on these cases ever got paid to the degree. I feel like maybe they did. Also, the companies that were charging for this debt, whether or not they just went under because they didn't get their money from these particular folks. If you think about it that way, you'll realize that if we actually have a system that, again, whatever reasons why these folks still made their money, they still did, and people don't have to be under the thumb of this type of debt. And maybe there's this thing that we talk about in the country called an upward mobility. Opportunity, that's the other thing that we like to say. But instead, many of our systems are put in place to make sure that none of those things are realized. Just saying. It's what we're seeing in reality right in front of us versus what we could be seeing. Thank you, Jackson, for joining us on the program today. It was a little fun.
We made the most out of it, you know what I'm saying? And we finished off with some genuinely good news.
Absolutely. I mean, it was so surprising. I didn't even have the good news bumper ready for you guys. Maybe next time around September when we have some more good news. Thank you guys also for joining us as well on the show. It's a Thursday. So, of course, it's the Young Turks again after this show. Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur. Go check them out. We'll see y'all Friday to wrap up this week.